It's time to get this old generator running again. Time to clean up the workspace and replace that old riding lawnmower gas tank with a clean boat tank full of fresh fuel. Yep, that smells. The guy I bought this generator from replaced the mechanical pump with this newer electric pump. And we did test it when I first bought this generator. Fortunately, this thing clicked when I first turned it on. So we're gonna hook this new fuel line and boat tank up and hope this still works to pump fuel up to our carburetor. Now, wouldn't it be awesome if this boat tank actually fits in the slot where the old military tank went? Oh, okay. So our little breather cap there hits, but that can be easily remedied by lifting this cap and sliding it in all the way. So the next step, since we can get it to actually sit here, is to go ahead and put a fitting on this and see if we can get fuel to pump from here through the system and into the carburetor. I picked up these two items at my local Academy Sports, and if I did my calculations right, that'll be enough fuel line, and this little fitting right here will accommodate that fuel line and allow me to connect from here down to the fuel pump. Let's try it. Yes, I know conventional wisdom is I should probably put some Teflon tape on there, but this is a plastic fitting, and once I tighten this down, it should lock it in with the threads pretty well. We can always come back and put some Teflon tape on it later. It didn't take much to start to get the fuel come out of this thing. Look at that, just barely press. So I think there's probably some pressure built up inside. All right. Well, that is a little bit small, but I think we can make this work. Okay, time for an old trick my dad taught me. Just in case my dad happens to watch this video, I want to say thanks, Dad, for all the mechanical expertise you loaned me. Comes in handy. So this is the trick. You just get a plain old pair of needle nose, your fuel line that you can't get on the fitting. You put the needle nose in the end of the fuel line. You'll see that? And then you take your needle nose and you spread them. Don't go too hard on it because you can actually split the fuel line out. But you spread it out just a little bit like this. And now this should be flexible enough to go ahead and fit on that guy right there. Kind of give it a twist. You got to be patient with it. You get in a hurry, you'll get mad at it. Look at that. She wants to go. There we go. Here on the fuel pump side, and yes, these siphoning pump kits you buy are definitely directional, so pay attention to that. The way you can easily figure it out without actually wasting any gasoline, if you want to, is put both ends of the hose up to your ear and squeeze. Don't put it in your ear. Don't put it in your ear because it does push air out. Put both ends of this up to your ear and squeeze the primer bulb, and whichever one you hear air puffing out of as you squeeze, that's going to be the end the fuel's going to come out of. Okay? So, in this one, the fitting actually goes on quite nicely. Look at that. Now, I just said all that about figuring out which way the fuel flows. Let's see if I was right. Here we go. We're going to pump. See if we can get some fuel. Watch it close. Uh-oh. Look at that. Gasoline. We're in business, baby. Now, since this thing's been sitting for quite some time and whatever fuel is in the fuel pump and carburetor is old, I recommend putting a little of this good stuff in there, the sea foam. This will clean just about anything you got some people might argue with me. They say, well, there's no repair in a can, and I'm not saying this is repair in a can. What I'm saying is this is really good for an old, dirty fuel system. It can't hurt it, right? It's just going to add lubricants and some cleaning properties, and it might actually help it. Now, if there's someone on here that knows a lot about these old generators and can tell me different, well, by all means, I would love to hear what you got to say, because I will not pretend to be completely knowledgeable about these. This is my first one I've ever owned. But we're going to go ahead, since this is old, dirty system here, we're going to go ahead and put an entire can of seafoam into our fuel. We have about 3 gallons here, so yeah, this is going to be super concentrated. I don't think it's going to do any harm. Harm. Goodness. Time to tackle the issue of power to start this thing. These cables, well, all appearances appear to be okay. I'm sure they're corroded up, but as long as they'll get enough amperage over to the starter, we should be good. Even got the old bungee strap for battery hold down. And you know it, I have my trusty never start. Sorry, Walmart. Just had some bad luck with these batteries. But this one seems to have lasted a little bit, so maybe you guys are getting a hint. I don't know. There's our positive. For those who don't turn wrenches regularly, your positive side of your battery always goes to your solenoid, unless you've got one of those old units that's reversed. But this one's not. And I might add, you want to go ahead and hook your positive up first. So we're going to put our positive on, and then we're going to put our ground on and see if anything happens. No sparks yet. Of course, that could mean my never start is dead. Nope, shouldn't be. We hope not. Okay, we're hooked up. We're going to keep an eye on it for a second. But if we don't see smoke, we're going to hit the button and see what happens. You may have noticed that we did not hear the electric fuel pump kick on. So I'm wondering if there's an on-off switch back here in the control panel. Let's hope there's no wasps in here. There wasn't when I checked it a few days ago. Okay. So there's some switches here. There's a fuel. That didn't do anything. Voltage regulator. And let's see, panel lights. I would not expect those bulbs to still be good. And this, I wonder if this is our master switch. Hey, listen folks. Ha, ha, look at that fuel running through those lines. Okay, that's good. It means the on-off switch works. Now, we'll wait for that sucker to build up some pressure. Sounds like a rattlesnake getting tired of rattling. Okay, so there is a start button here, and then there's also a push button on top of the solenoid up by the battery. So if this button doesn't work, then we can hit the override button up there on the solenoid. But I'm going to go ahead and give this a push and see what happens. I think it's safe to... Oh! Whoa! Did y'all hear that? All right. I'm going to get the camera up by the smokestack, so if it busts off, y'all can see what happens first. Okay, nothing. I don't see any smoke either. But that reminds me, I seem to have forgotten one critical thing. This is a liquid-cooled engine. I didn't check the antifreeze. How many of you were gnashing your teeth at this point saying, dude, check the antifreeze? All right, I'm gonna check the antifreeze. Take a look at this. This is so cool. I think if you watch the first video, you know this is a Willys motor. But if you stare at this, this almost looks like the front end of a Jeep minus the headlights. Pretty cool. All right. So we're gonna open these little hold downs. Oh, something flew out. I hope that wasn't a wasp. There we go. All right, let's see if we got any coolant in this bad boy. So you can see it is a flathead and line 4. Well, she's dry, so if it busts off, we most definitely need to shut it down pretty quick. Add some antifreeze. The other critical piece I forgot is to check the oil. And this one, now I checked it back when I bought it, but you're right, those of you who are saying this, you should always check your oil before you start any engine. So several reasons. One, is it full? And two, is there any water in the oil? Water in the oil is a bad sign because that means that coolant has made its way into the oil pan. So this one's a little higher than, what do y'all say, 2/3? Not terrible. We definitely don't want to run it for a long length of time, but we don't see any water in there either. So that's a good sign. I see something else a little bit disturbing. It looks like my coil wire is partially off. I got a little son and daughter, so there's a good chance they were out here messing with the wires. So let's make sure those coil wires in place. Okay, so we're good on oil. Not sure about coolant. It is an old carbureted engine, so it's very possible that the carburetor is completely gummed up. But it also has a choke. Now see that right there? So I'm gonna try hitting the starter button and then hitting the choke all in one, and let's see if we can get it to bust off. I promised you guys some smokestack action, so let me see if I can get the carburetor and the smokestack all in the same shot. Oh, look at that. All right, here goes nothing. Okay, no cigar yet. Let's take a look at a couple of things. We're gonna check and see if she actually has fire. And the way to do that, of course, is to throw some accelerant down the throat of the carburetor. And if it starts up and dies, you know you've got spark, but you don't have fuel. So it's very possible this sucker's just not getting any fuel. So it's good to have no spark. And yes, I'm using some WD-40, but there's a reason. It's because WD-40 is a lubricant. We don't want to put those cylinders on a cold start completely dry. So I'm not using starting fluid. Okay, so that means no spark. Round 2, let's flip the switch, let's try this. Negative. All right. Round 4. Whoa! Did y'all see that? It started and died, which means we've got spark, which is good. And then it shot a dirt dauber nest right through the fan. Yee! Okay, she started, folks. She started. That's good. I'm gonna give it a little more of a prime. I'm gonna put the air cleaner back on. I'm gonna set the choke to closed. Let's see what we can make happen. Don't tease me like that. Well, we may just have a gummed up carburetor. Let's see. Well, I see fuel. Or is that my WD-40? She's trying. Well, I guess it's time to take the fuel line off of the carburetor and see if we're actually getting some gas. So I let the electric fuel pump run now for about 5 minutes, and it occurred to me that the fuel pump was still running and still running and still running, which means gasoline has got to be being pumped somewhere, okay? So maybe the fuel bowl wasn't full. I don't know, but we're gonna try again and see what happens. No prime, let's just see what happens. Okay, maybe the no prime was a bad idea. Dirt daubers. Well, we know she runs with a prime, so that means we just got to figure out what's stopping that carburetor up. Holy cow, I'm excited. There's one more trick we have up our sleeves before we have to take this carburetor off, and that is, we've never heard of this before, but you can just tap the side of the carburetor. It's a stuck needle. Not too hard, you don't want to crack the aluminum. But I notice, I see moisture right there, which means it looks like fuel is getting there, and I'm gonna have a little bit of a leak in that clamp. But my fuel pump on the other side, it's sped up. So maybe the carburetor's filling with gas. I don't know, but we're gonna try it again. Not yet. Dog, it runs. And I see why the previous owner had this wire on here. If you trace this sucker back, if you hook it up here, it holds the choke on. So the gentleman was telling the truth. It did run, but only if you hold the choke on. So I'm wondering, well, I know I'm going to have to go through this thing with a carburetor kit and rebuild it, but I'm wondering if I can do some adjustments on this carburetor and get this thing to running. I don't know, but it is fired up. So let's use the trick he was using, and let's keep the choke engaged at about, I don't know, 7/8. See if we can keep the thing running and see if it generates. Now, in case you were wondering what button I was pushing back here, this is the button. Start. You can hear that fuel pump is going nuts. Holy cow, y'all look at that. It's charging. It has oil pressure, and not just any oil pressure, y'all. That's over 50 pounds. Oh my word. It's not gonna stay running, but dadgummit, when it is running, it's good. I've got it haphazardly running here on a partial choke. Now I adjusted the set screws on the carburetor just a hair bit. And so let's do a walk around while it's running here. Remember, this is a 5 kW, so it's not a whole lot of power. It does have 2 outlets here, and it has some other hookups right here. We're also going to go ahead and let that fuel system cleaner cycle through with the new fuel, see if that does anything. So it's a points and condenser system, loaded with spider webs, of course. And according to the meter on the back, it's generating charge. Here's the front of it. And it runs just like a bulldozer. The air blows out towards you. So it's pulling air across the engine, blowing it through the radiator and out the front, which is kind of neat if you're going to use this thing during the winter months. I could see that being quite cozy. Look at that. No smoke. Willis just knew how to build them back then. I tell you what, y'all, this is a testament to good engineering. No smoke. How about that? Well, to say I'm excited is an understatement. Now, we got it to bust off. We know it's got good oil pressure. We know it needs antifreeze, so I don't want to run it too long. But according to this circuit breaker, if you can see that, there's on and there's off. So we are now going to test the generating capabilities of this unit. Are y'all ready? I know I am. So out there in the woods, you see that string of extension cord there? I've got some party lights hung up. That's where we have our campfires and stuff. And We're gonna go ahead and test it first on something really small and see if it'll light up that light string out there. What do y'all think? Y'all wanna do it? Let's do it. Fuel pump on. There she goes. All right. Okay, circuit breaker on. Voltage regulator on. Uh-oh. Well, a little string of lights might be too much for it. I don't know. Let's see. All right, let's go see if they're on. She's struggling. Hot dog. Oh no! Oh! I gotta rebuild that carburetor. But she generates, folks. All right, well, let's put some antifreeze in her and let's see what we can do about that carburetor. We got the lion's share of it in there. Even though winter's not close, I do want to put good antifreeze in it because this unit is stored outside. Of course, I don't have a heated garage for it yet. There we go. Okay. Now I've adjusted that carburetor just a little bit. So let's try it again. On a whim, I decided to install this old fuel tank because it's just gravity fed, right? The other one is actually pulling fuel from the boat tank tube there. Now this is just a Hail Mary. This is wild. I don't know if this is actually going to work, but I'm just going to put the old fuel tank back in. And we're going to see if this fuel pump can actually build up any kind of pressure and hold if the carburetor needle is to seat properly. So let's see if it actually does it. I'm curious. Well, nothing left but to try it again. Nothing yet. Well, some more investigation is definitely needed, but we did get to see it run. We did get to see it generate, albeit not a lot. So what's to do next? Well, folks, that is all for this episode. I promised you in the introduction that I would try to get this thing running, and I did. Not very well, but it is running. Clearly the carburetor needs to be gone through, and I may even have a sus electric fuel pump right there. I don't know, but we do know that it can generate. We do know it has spark. We just don't have very good fuel supply. So, anybody worked on these? Anybody out there in YouTube world might be subscribed to this channel or may have happened upon this video by accident. If you do, I have 2 requests of you. First of all, well, 3. Subscribe to the channel. We're looking for new subscribers. We'd love to have you. 2, drop your comments. I'd love to see what you have to say, especially those of you out there who've worked on these engines before, mechanics, former military. I know this one's really old, but I got to think that there's a couple of you guys out there that are still kicking that worked on these old Willys motors and know what you're talking about. So give me your comments, your feedback, your advice. I would very much appreciate it. And 3, I said this in the 55 Ford video. If you got something really nasty to say, just don't. Some of y'all do need Jesus, and I still love you, but everybody else, it really darkens the mood of the chat when someone comes in there and, you know, all over the comment section. So, or do if you want. Heck, if I see it, I'll pray for you. All right. Thank y'all for watching. And for those of you who are concerned that there's nothing happening with the 55 Ford grain truck, don't worry, it's coming. It's coming. I'm ordering some parts. It takes money. This is not the best time economically for anyone. Inflation's through the roof. Y'all all know all this. And it's sometimes hard just to fill up the gas tank and get to work. And I do have a full-time job. So anywho, but it is coming. Parts are being ordered. And you will see another video on the 1955 Ford barn find grain truck very soon. In the meantime, give this video a like, or not, and a comment. Even if you don't know anything, just comment, hey, this was cool, we'd like to see more of it. I did a survey 2 weeks ago, and got 7 votes. 7, thank y'all. Thank you 7 for voting. But overwhelmingly, people want to see more repair videos. So I'm not pretending to be the best mechanic, but we're gonna give it our all, and we're gonna get this thing purring, we're gonna get it generating, and you're gonna see that video. So stay tuned for part 3. We're not gonna try to drag this out, but we wanna give you good quality content. If you have suggestions, great. Love you guys. Have a blessed day.